fractions and decimals
Order fractions and decimals
on a number line.
on a number line.
Okay. Some things that came to my mind that I wanted to make sure you guys have a really good handle on before we go on today is when we're ordering fractions and decimals on a number line, there are two very important things we need to remember. And that is, one, a fraction and a decimal are two ways to represent a part of a whole, mistake, sorry, I'll fix that, part of a whole or part of a group. So just, we're talking about part of a group with fractions, part of a whole with fractions. We can now use decimals to represent that same value as we did with fractions, okay? Fractions and decimals can be equivalent. Okay? The second point I wanted to make sure that we are really thinking about is when we do decide to order fractions and decimals on a number line, that we are going to convert those fractions and decimals to those values to either a fraction, all fractions, or all decimals. Okay? That'll make it much easier. Correct. I'm going to, and Mrs. Porter, I've shared this with you and Mrs. Temple, so I thought we could then share it with, or you guys could share it with this group, so they would have this in their notes. We talked about, one thing I'm going to show you right now is I kind of have two lines. I'm going to create a number line, and the top one I'm going to make it in tenths. So here's my 0, here's my 1, and then I'm going to divide it into 10 equal parts. Or as close to equal as I can get, right? Okay. I just want to go over an example of what we talked about yesterday. Like if we have something, let's say we have 3/10, and then we have 36 hundredths and 3/4. Okay? We want to order those. We need to turn them all to, what would you guys do in this case? Would you make them all fractions or would you make them all decimals? Austin?
All decimals.
All decimals. So we'll keep 3/10 the same. Let's write them down here. We'll keep 3/10. And we'll keep 36 hundredths the way it is. And what does 3/4 become as a decimal? That's a pretty easy. Ethan? 3/10. Not 3/10, no. Stella? 0.75 or 75 hundredths. Think about those quarters. 3 out of 4 quarters. How much is 3 out of 4 quarters? 3 quarters are 75 cents. So that's 75 hundredths. Okay. Now we need to order these on our number line. So we have 0 and we have 1. We need to know, where do I put 3/10? Where do I put 36 hundredths and 75 hundredths? I'm going to change colors. Paige, where would 3/10 go on my number line? What, say that again? The third line. Okay, so she says it would go on the third. I'm not gonna start counting at my zero. Here is 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. So right here is my decimal 3/10. Okay? Now I have 3600ths. How do we mark 3600ths? When I have this number line that's divided into tenths. Chloe?
No, I think you go to the third space and then you like make little in
Okay.
between.
So you could make, how many little marks would we make in between? Haley? 10. Okay, let me show you something. This is where I'm going to take this and I'm gonna break it down into a new number line. This now becomes my 3/10, and this is my 4/10. What do we know about adding zeros with a decimal? Can I add a zero here? And can I add a zero here?
No.
Sure I can.
You can. I
Those
say
zeros don't change the value. So now instead of 3/10, I have 30/100ths, and I have 40/100ths. Guess what? Can I count 3600ths now? 3100ths, 3200ths, 3300ths, 3400ths, 35, and 3600ths. So we know that 3600ths is a little over, just past halfway between 30/100ths and 40/100ths, which is the same as 3/10 and 4/10. So I'm gonna mark this one 4/10. But right about here, I'm gonna say that's my 3600. Okay? So we changed 3/4 then to 7500. So whereabout on my number line is 7500 going to be? Grace, between the 7 and 8. Is it gonna be closer to the 7? Is it gonna be closer to the 8/10?
8.
Wyatt, what do you think? Okay, here's my 4, 5, 6, 7. So they said it's gonna be between the 7 and the 8. So I can make a number line, I can break it down. Here's my 7/10. Here's my 8/10, but it's gonna become 70/100ths and 80/100ths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? 7100, 72, 73, 74. Look there, 7500. So it's exactly in the middle of 7/10 and 8/10, right? So I'm gonna put it right here.
By
Now,
5, 70, 75, 80, it's that middle number.
and remember, we wanna plot it on our number line the same as the original form. So our original form is 3/4. So I'm not gonna plot 7500ths, but we know that's the same as the fraction 3/4. Okay. Any questions about what we just did?